Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the AfterShock Happy Hour and Live Sale. I'm your host and the Senior Retailer Relations Manager here at AfterShock Comics, RuthAnn Thompson. We have quite the lineup for us today, but let's start off with our Get to Know Our AfterShock crew with the incredible president of AfterShock Media, Lee Kramer. How you doing, Lee?
I'm always better when I'm with you, Ruth Ann.
Oh, I've missed you too, buddy. Well, it's good to see you. Cheers. And thank you for joining us
Chin chin.
today.
Yes.
So tell everybody a little bit about yourself because as you've admitted yourself, you are camera shy. I don't really like to be on panel, so most people don't know who you are and what you do here at AfterShock.
Yeah, I'm one of the partners and the president of film and television for AfterShock Media. So I'm involved with developing all the books, and then I take the books and we go put them together and sell them for film and TV. We have a whole bunch of books set up that I can't talk about, but the few like Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson's Undone by Blood, which is at AMC Networks, and Norman Reedus will co-star in. We just brought on a big showrunner, which means the person who's going to write and run the room. I can't talk about that, but it'll be a big name to announce, so that's a lot of fun. And there's a lot of other ones. Kaiju Score by James Patrick Harris. We have some very fun big writers, which hopefully we'll announce soon that people in the comic world will really enjoy. And so just looking to get the best and, best adaptation for every one of our books, because all of our books are great comics. And then it's, my job to make them great film or TV.
Yeah, and when it comes to Kaiju Score, that was actually a surprise because that's the first time we've sold something before the comic book even came out, correct?
Yeah, I think we had multiple offers in July, and then we had closed the deal by August. And I think that was a November 2020 release, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was great. And we
Yes.
have a new book soon by James Patrick Harris, which is really exciting. As James is very good at mashups, genre mashups, which are really hard because if they're not done well, they can seem like you're forcing genres together. So his next book is Campisi, which will come out uh, August 11th. So you should check it out. And that one was about a Sonny Campisi, who's kind of a fixer for the mob, but a good guy. And all of a sudden, he has to deal with the mythical dragon that comes in. And though that sounds fantastical, it's really much more grounded than that. And I recommend it. If you really like Kaiju Score, you're going to love Campisi. It's in the same wheelhouse.
Yeah, and it's
So
great,
very,
like you talk about mixing genres, because sometimes you're like, oh, that sounds so obvious, because like Kaiju Score is just a Quentin Tarantino like heist movie plus a Godzilla movie, and though nobody's ever put that together, it's like that's kind of perfect. It's pretty great.
yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, having the Kaiju in the backdrop while a gigantic heist is going on in Miami, it's kind of just like a fun thing to do. And you're exactly right, Ruthann. And that's why I think like all the studios got so interested in it because they're like, okay, we know like Kaiju, Godzilla, but we've never seen this where they're not the main thing. The heist is the front and center of the show. So that'll be a lot of fun. And you'll see when we announce who the writer's on, you'll understand it'll continue to be fun as well as you'll get the Tarantino-esque type vibe as well. So that'll be exciting.
I can't wait because yeah, there's so much that we're not allowed to say, but once people hear about it,
Yes,
it's
I have
very
to
exciting.
watch myself, and I don't do these interviews. So
Yeah. Well, one thing you can talk about, since you yourself said you're more on the film and TV side, what brought you into comics? Like, was there something specific that you're like, comic books would be really good, just transferred directly into film and TV?
well, for me, I really didn't love reading growing up, and my godfather owned like three comic book stores, and I remember I was like 4.5 or 5, and my mother must have been complaining to him, so he brought me to Heidi Ho Comics, which is now on Broadway and Fifth in Santa Monica, but at the time, I believe uh, it was near the public library in Santa Monica on Santa Monica Boulevard. So went in there and I started by reading Spider-Man. So for a long time, Spider-Man was my favorite comic, and it's how it got me to read. So I always loved books. And then coming from film and TV, I worked at Mandalay Pictures, which was owned by Peter Guber still, and he was the first to put Batman on the screen. And I was very aware of the deals with Image, and I knew that there were a lot of great books that were non-superhero. And so I tried to convince him to option a whole bunch of them. It didn't work out. But then luckily I met Joe Pruett during that time. And that's how we started AfterShock. So by 2010, 11, we were really trying to raise the money for the company and so forth. As I always thought, comics sometimes are looked down if it's not Marvel and DC. You only see capes and tights, where it's really a medium. Yes, I love the superhero stories, but for us, unless it's something distinctly different, we'll tell any genre. It just has to be a great story, and it has to be a great comic. Like, though I work on the film and television side, I develop all the comics with Joe and Mike and Christina and the whole team. But if it's not a great comic, it doesn't matter for film or TV, because we're a comic book company first. I just happen to get to use these great stories and go out into the marketplace and go sell them and find the right partners creatively.
Yeah, and it's just it's so great at AfterShock because we really do have every single genre. Because though we have stayed away from Cape and Cal, like we don't have quite as much superheroes, but now we're back with superheroes for Project Patron, and so it's kind of this great new way of like, oh, you thought we didn't do those, but we do.
Steve Orlando has a way of convincing us to do this. Yeah, but that was really exciting.
Yeah, and so what are you looking forward to the most here with AfterShock?
We have some new books coming up that I'm really looking forward to. Some from unknown writers, some from well-known writers. The first of which comes out June 7th, is Clans of Valaria by Rob and Peter Blackie. They're brothers from Newfoundland. The artist is Daniel Main, and it's really a father-daughter, though adopted daughter sci-fi story that's really heartfelt, also action-packed, and a lot of fun. Just so everybody knows, they've never written comics before. They're huge comic fans, Canadians as well from Newfoundland. But they created the show Frontier with Jason Momoa, so they've been in and around kind of the comic area. But they're also adapting one of our books, is really how we got into talking about if they had an original idea. Once again, I can't say which book they're adapting for TV, but we're first going to come out with their own original stories. So I'm really excited about that. So Clans of Valaria, July 7th. Sorry, guys, July 7th. And then a better known comic creator, Ed Brisson, it brought us Beyond the Breach, on sale July 14th. Look at this. I'm so well at doing this.
Yes.
The artist is Damien Crucero, which I totally killed your name, Damien. I'm so sorry. But this is like a more fun. If you're like a fan of like The Walking Dead, it's about a young woman in her 30s, Alex, who just has had kind of a shitty time. Her boyfriend cheated on her with her sister, so she hates all of them. She's going to go to the redwoods to kind of get away from things, and when she does, something called the breach happens, and all of a sudden she has to save a 12-year-old kid. All these aliens are coming from, or not aliens, like interdimensional beings are coming, and they're all types of creatures are coming from all over. And so if you like The Walking Dead, it's kind of a road story of what goes on. So this is what we're really excited about. It comes out again July 14th. So I'm stoked for everybody to see it, because we've luckily gotten to read most of it.
Yeah,
At
we
this
actually
point.
we always do these conference calls with the creatives, and we got to see some of the artwork of some of these like beasties, and it's really fun. I think everybody will be looking forward to it. So since we have Cullen on, and we seem to be known very much for our horror, do you have any like horror titles that you're excited about, or stuff that is going from to the big screen that you're looking forward to?
There's something going on with Zach Thompson's replacer, and it'll be a feature. And Zach is actually he's getting the right to screenplay, so that's good. I can't really say much more. So very
That's really
exciting about
great.
that.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that yet. So yay, yay
Yeah.
for Zach. That's awesome.
Yes. So that'll be fun. In terms of other horror, there's always lots of bites in all of Cullen's books. And lots of stuff is going on with Dark Arc, which we'll have to fill in Cullen shortly.
Yeah.
If it becomes more real as an entertainment, nothing's real till deals start getting made. And
I
then
just
nothing's
love
real till you're on set.
Yeah, exactly. Until it's actually like on screen somewhere. And I just love the whole story behind After the Flood, or Dark Ark just in general, because of how like it was just a joke he used to tell people, and then he told that same joke to Mike Martz and was like, well, do it.
Yeah, I don't think that one was too hard.
Yeah.
There's been a few where they're bought in the room in 1 second.
Yeah. Well, Lee, thank you so much for joining. I know a lot of the people wanted to be able to meet you and see you and see, like, because we've had almost all four partners on. Now we just need John on as well, and then we'll have all of the behind the scenes partners from AfterShock Comics and AfterShock Media.
Yes. Well, a pleasure all. And you're going to have a great time with Colin. He's the
Yes.
best. Maybe even Joe, but he's a
Yeah,
partner,
he's
so I
all
have to
right.
be polite. Thanks.
All
Thanks
right,
a
Lee.
lot,
Thank
Ruth
you
Ann.
so much. Thank you. And everybody
Bye.
stick around. We're going to have Cullen up next. So see you soon. Hey there, it's RuthAnn for the AfterShock Epicenter. I just wanted to remind you to pick up all the latest titles that just came out for yesterday's new comic book day, which is Phantom on the Scan #2, Bequest #3, Undone by Blood or the Other Side of Eden #3, We Live trade paperback, and the Dreaming Eagles softcover edition. So check in with your local comic book store today to pick those up, and I'll see you guys on the next Epicenter live stream. Hello, good sir.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been sitting here while Lee was talking. I've been
Yeah,
nursing my
so
drink.
same. Cheers to you. Well, I'm so
Cheers.
jealous of your lighting. I was like, I want my lighting to look that good. What kind of camera? What's going on over there? So,
I can tell.
sir.
I'll tell you the secrets of the camera
Okay.
sometime soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, Cullen, it seems like you are just nonstop writing, because I think the last time we had you on for a conversation, we were talking about Piecemeal at that point, and now we're not even a year later, and we have two more titles from you just since then.
Yeah. No, I like to stay busy, so I don't like sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah, so let's jump right in, because we were actually talking to you during this call, saying how well Eden has done. It's been going amazingly. So Eden, which is a 48-page prestige one-shot, because we love puns here at AfterShock. I don't know if you know this, Cullen, what we call your All My Demons. We call it the Bundibus.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like Omnibun as well.
Omnibun, yeah.
Yeah, so either one is fine with me.
But this is a very different story. So it's a horror romance with the artist Dalibor Telegic, and it follows a down and out tattoo artist named Niles, who he's lost a lot in his life. And then all of a sudden, this young woman, Eden, walks in and changes everything. So tell us, I don't want to spoil too much. I mean, this did come out a couple weeks ago, but tell us a little bit more from your perspective, the writer, the creator of this incredible story.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book. Dalibor just did an amazing job with it. It's a romance, but it's very dark, and it goes into some very disturbing places. It's the kind I've had a lot of comments from people since the book's come out where they're just like, I did not expect that at the end of the book, which is exactly what I wanted. But yeah, it's a story about this guy Niles, and he meets Eden, who comes in for a tattoo, and she wants something special, something different. He gives her a tattoo, and they have a connection instantly. But then she comes back a few weeks later, and the tattoo's gone. And she gets another tattoo, and she comes back a few weeks later, and that tattoo's gone. So there's sort of this mystery of what's happening to these tattoos that's wrapped around this relationship that's growing between Niles and Eden, and then it just gets into it goes to some surprising places, I think.
Yeah, and for anybody who gets tattoos, like right away, you're like, what is with this girl? Because she doesn't even want him to draw it out first. She wants just like directly from the needle to her skin, like just start from there and just draw. So it's that was my first like, oh wait, that's different. Now, do you have any tattoos, Cullen? Where did this idea of a tattoo shop, and very specifically the tattoos, come from for you?
So I do not have any tattoos. I was going to get a bunch. I put on a comic convention with a local comic shop here a few years ago, and I had said, if this convention is successful, I'm going to dedicate myself to getting a sleeve of tattoos, all based on books I've written. And the convention was great. It was awesome. It was very well attended, and people loved it. We had a lot of great guests, and I lost my shirt on it. It was such a financial disaster that
that's conventions for you. Yeah, putting on conventions is not for making money.
But at that convention, a good friend of mine managed a tattoo shop, and he even set up at that convention. I remember it was him that I made that deal with. They had, they were doing tattoos live at the convention, and he managed the shop, and I spent a lot of time hanging out with him there. And that's real. And he was a big horror fan, and that's really where the idea for this story kind of took root.
So from tattoos that do you still plan on maybe someday getting a full sleeve, or?
This is a temple, and I just can't, I can't just, start inking it up for no reason. There has to be some real meaning behind it.
It's so funny. Well, it's funny because I actually had a story of tattoos where when I was 12, I almost got a tattoo, because in Vermont, for whatever reason, if your parents say that you can get a tattoo, you can get it. And my eldest sister's boyfriend was a tattoo artist and had did a tattoo for her. So I really wanted this tattoo of this giant, it would have been like from here to here on my tiny little 12-year-old arm, of a dragon wrapped around this beautiful ornate dagger. Thankfully, the tattoo artist knew how to talk to a teenager, and just was like, oh yeah, that's a beautiful thing, but maybe we should wait till you're fully grown so it doesn't stretch.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah,
so from that point on, I said I wasn't going to get a tattoo unless I'd wanted it for 5 years minimum, and then I'll get a tattoo.
Right. I mean, I talk a good game about, I talk every now and again about wanting one, but then I realized I just don't know if I'm going to like anything that I would get a tattoo of in not even 5 years, in 5 minutes. I know that, I buy a book sometimes and I have buyer's remorse. I definitely don't want buyer's remorse with a tattoo.
It's true. I actually have a very funny comment from Sith Lordy at Spinetix. So they're wondering, if you were to describe your excitement in an 80s dance song, would it be Debbie Gibson, Shake Your Love, or Madonna, Get You Into the Groove?
Well, it would almost have to be Debbie Gibson, I would assume. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Come on. Nothing wrong with Madonna, but Debbie Gibson's, that's the 80s.
Yeah. I love it. So with Eden though, and it's interesting because when I was first reading it as well, and I was so prepared for the horror aspect, and you get to all the way almost to the very end, you're like, no, it's fine. This is kind of interesting and weird. And then all of a sudden it does take that Cullen Bunn absolute dark twist. You're like, no. Yeah. Oh God.
I really wanted in that book, I wanted that feeling of everything's fine. This is actually a happy story. Things are going to go well until the moment it doesn't. And I wanted to, I feel like the best sort of horror stories, they lull you into a false sense of security, and then they whack you when you're least expecting it. So yeah, I wanted to surprise the reader a little bit with that. And I don't think that's a spoiler. I think as you read it, my hope is as you read it, you'll still get sort of lulled in, even though things are going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah, it's building to something, but you're like, right. Oh, it's all good, right? It looks like Cindy, your wife, actually just joined in, and she said, "I'm getting you in the chair. It's just a matter of time."
Yes, Cindy is the tattoo person in the family right now. So she says eventually it'll happen, but who knows?
Who knows?
I just don't know what I would get, and I feel like any decision I make in any shape is a mistake. So a tattoo is certainly going to be a mistake. I just have to. I'd have to let her decide what it would be.
Yeah.
And just as I said that, that was a mistake.
You're like, oh, there's another one right there.
Yeah.
So another great question from the comments that the end of Eden was so epic and left me with so many questions. Will we see more stories in this strange, dark world?
I don't know. I mean, in my head, I have another Eden story. I know where it would go from there. But I also kind of like that I'm not answering those questions. I kind of like that the story leaves a number of questions, both about things that happened before before that story and the things that are going to happen after. I kind of like leaving that for the reader to think about and dream about. So I don't know. I could tell another Eden story. I just don't know if that's the right move or not. I think there's something about leaving it to the reader's imagination that I like.
Well, yeah, it almost the mystery of it makes it even more horrifying in its own way. Of like, but why? But how? But then what happens next? Like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if the thing is with something like that, if I did another story in that world, it has to escalate, and it has to escalate in a very surprising way. And I don't know how much darker we can take it,
Well, I mean, it is you. I don't want to make any assumptions that you won't be able to take it darker, because I think you could.
Yeah, well, I could. I just don't know if I could handle the hate mail that I would get.
I always forget about that part of you. Yeah. Of your being a writer.
There is a moment where you can, it's like if you've ever watched Price is Right, and they've got that little guy that climbs the mountain and he's yodeling, and at some point he tips over the side and he plummets to a horrible death. There is a moment that you can take it too far with the horror.
It's true. I'm
willing to do it, but everyone's got to buckle up for it.
Yeah, you like at that point, I'd be like, you literally asked for this, so. Right. Sorry,
that but needs to be a disclaimer. The cover is just a disclaimer. You asked for it.
It's just all the tweets and all of the messages sent asking for it. Like, that's the cover. Done.
Right.
Kind of on that same vein, we have another question from Second Street Marvel asking, any plans on putting second parts to the one-shots, Witchhammer, Piecemeal, or Eden? I feel like the stories had a conclusion, but the story wasn't over.
Yeah, definitely I could do more with, like I said, I could do more with Eden. I could definitely, the plan has always been to do more with Witchhammer in my head anyway. Piecemeal I'm probably done with, but yeah, I could explore those worlds. I mean, there's definitely a bigger story there for sure, for especially Witchhammer. Witchhammer I would love to do more in that world. Eden I kind of want to, but I also kind of don't want to. So
it sounds like Eden, if you did anything, would be like one more one-shock, like not necessarily like an ongoing, but just like
I feel like there's a finality in the world of Eden. And I don't think it lends itself to an ongoing series.
I love this for anybody watching who hasn't read Eden yet. They're like, what happens?
I know.
Well, oh my God.
You better check it out.
Gonna have to go to your local comic book shop and find out. And then this very week, we had the second issue of Phantom on the Scan come out. And I've been so excited to talk to you about this because, when we have our conference calls, internally and you tell us about this story, it's like, okay, let it ruminate. But then once I start reading these, it's like, what is happening? So this is with the artist Mark Torres. And the story is 20 years ago, a comet fell to Earth. And since that night, Matthew has been haunted by a spirit that not only gives him incredible psychic powers, but is starting to make him sick, and other people that are like him are starting to die in very horrific ways around the world. So this story and the artwork from Mark Torres, like everything, it's so haunting. And I feel like every page I'm on the edge of my seat of what's going to happen next. So tell everybody a little bit more about that in your own words.
Yeah. It's a psychic horror story. It's centered around 5 psychics. Each of them have different abilities, and those abilities are killing them in horrible ways. And I can say it, 2 issues are out. Their heads are exploding, and these horrible things are crawling out and skittering away out of their skulls.
I don't like it. That really surprised me when it happened.
And the interesting thing about the book, I think, is, and a lot of this I give all credit to Mark, because he's so talented. he's this master of bringing that slow burn to life through the art. As much as a book about heads exploding can be, it's a slow burn because these characters are trying to find out why their powers are killing them. And I don't know that readers will know exactly what that is until issue 5 when we resolve the story. I think it will be a big surprise and a big shock. There are hints throughout from issue 1 on to, through issue 4, there are big hints, but I think part of the fun is going to be piecing together what you think is really killing these characters, and who's going to make it to the end. We've got 5 characters, 5 main characters, and there's some villainous figures and things like that that are at play as well. But there's a lot of brain exploding in Phantom on the Scan.
There is, and the artwork. So what is it like working with Mark Torres on this? And like when you described to him the look that you were going for, like what did you describe? Because I'm so curious, because what's in these pages is absolutely beautiful and haunting and just adds so much more to the story.
Yeah, I give him, Mark and I have worked together before. We did a book called Cold Spots several years ago. And I give, just like when I work with any artist in a very, very collaborative nature, I describe what I see and I say, this is kind of what I have in mind. And then I let Mark do his thing. And he does that with the characters. He gave each of them very interesting looks. And he did it. Dorian, who is, you mentioned that Matthew has this sort of little boy that's a companion. And the more Matthew uses his powers, the more Dorian rots and becomes, sort of zombie-like and skeletal and hideous. And he just does such a great job of these ghostly apparition figures, and then these creatures that are leaping out of the brains. He has, they're not. I can't say that the creatures that crawl out of these skulls look exactly like what I had in mind when I wrote the script. But Mark did such a great job of making them look squishy and floppy, like they've got these appendages that are
so gross,
that are
but
just
you're right, yeah,
squirming around. And I think I described in the script what the tracks they would make in blood would look like, the sort of Xing pattern. And he took that and said, well, let me determine what a creature might look like. And he drew this it has these horrifying little like floppy appendages. Yeah. They're disgusting. He's a troubled man.
But I love that he got all that just from the tracks that you described.
Yeah, I really think that me describing the tracks did more than me describing what I thought this horrific creature would look like. And he's such a creative guy. He does so much to build mood into the story. And he even, as we all know, he's doing a soundtrack for the comics that you can I guess QR code from the comic to listen to as you read. So multi-talented.
Yeah, I think I have to listen to him separately, because I was telling you guys earlier that it's such a scary, well done book that I can't have like creepy music on at the same time. I won't be able to handle it.
Yeah, he shared it with me, so I was listening to it while writing some of the later issues. It had already been recorded, so I got to use it as ambiance music.
Yeah, and did you feel it really like kind of matched what you were feeling while you were writing it?
It's there's some unsettling tunes in the mix.
Well, now I'm so excited to keep reading this, since you say it does wrap up in 5 issues. Do you feel like this is a story that could continue on, or is this going to be very much encapsulated in these 5 issues?
Well, like many of my stories, once I start getting involved with these characters and in the world, I want to tell more in that world. And I could see a place where there could be another story in the Phantom on the Scan universe, but this story definitely has, a conclusion at the end. There are threads that could be followed. There's there's interesting material to be explored, because there's this mysterious organization called the Trellix Institute that's involved in the story, and I think there's a lot that could be done with the Trellix Institute. But this 5-issue story, at the end of it, you'll know where it ends.
All right. I can't. I'm so like nervous and excited. All right. Well, we have another question from a fan about Phantom on the Scan, and they say the car crash moment in issue 2 was terrifying on the page. Do you pull these moments from your own experience, or are they inspired by nightmares and pure imagination?
A little of both, definitely a little of both. And yeah, the car crash was pulled from times I've been in accidents, and my family has been in accidents. And then there's just this looming dread about being in sort of a car crash accident. I mean, I think it's just horrible. I used to work with a guy who was a professional ghost hunter and a psychic, and he did a reading on me. This was 30 years ago, and he told me, you need to be very careful around machinery and automobiles, because that may be how your life ends. And it has haunted me.
Oh my God.
It has haunted me for 30 years. How dare you tell me how I'm going to die? And if you're going to tell me I'm going to die, don't tell me car accident. Tell me I'm going to die, rescuing people from something awful.
Or just something that you don't have to do every single day of your life. Like, right. Jesus.
Yeah. So yeah, it's always bugged me, I think. And I think that's always, maybe that played into it. But yeah, my coworker once told me that I needed to be very careful around machinery and automobiles.
Well, the automobiles is terrifying, but the vagueness of the machinery, I don't like that either.
Yeah, I've always had, look, I'm not good with power tools and wood shop equipment. I have had my run-ins with them in the past, but and I'm hoping that he just didn't realize that, and that was what he meant. I just needed to be careful in the accidents I had in middle school and high school.
Yeah, that was it. You've already gotten through it. You're good now. That's it.
But yeah, I'm glad that scene played well and was creepy, because I felt like I was trying to get something out on the page there. And yeah, it's awful. Even the airbags that are supposed to protect you end up becoming lethal in the issue. Yeah. So it was a little troubling to write.
Well, that is an interesting question of, when it comes to if you've had have you ever had nightmares that kind of make it into some of your stories or into some of the like books that you do?
Yeah, bits and pieces, but I don't know that I've ever had a nightmare that became like sort of fully formed and became a story. But I definitely pull bits and pieces from that stuff and everything I'm doing. It's all, for me, it's all fodder for stories at some point.
Yeah, and where did this idea of doing a psychic horror kind of stem from for you? Or was just like, that's just one flavor that you hadn't done in a while, and you're like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, I think honestly that's probably it. Is I just haven't done anything that's like a really full-blown psychic horror story. And you don't grow up where I at the time I grew up and not have a healthy respect of psychic horror, because I grew up in the era of scanners and the Dead Zone, and things like that really dig into the powers of the mind, and it just it felt like something I needed to do.
Yeah, and we're absolutely loving it so far. And your wife just said, "You've never told me that." Taking away your tools and car keys. So sorry, Cullen. You can't. You're not allowed to drive anymore.
First of all, I have told her that, and she's already taken away my power tools, so it doesn't matter.
And then, so again from Sith Lordy at Spine Ticks, he said, "I'm in trouble if a psychic tells me to stay away from pizza."
Yeah. No, I would have preferred the pizza.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you're like, all right, I don't have to have pizza every day, but you got to get in your car. Like machinery in general it's got to happen.
I'm pretty sure I would have the same problem. I can't stay away from pizza forever. I mean,
Just
you got to take that chance.
and every time, is this the time? Are you going to make it through it?
That said, Joe Pruett fed me pizza 2 years ago in Chicago and I got food poisoning. So, or 3 years ago in Chicago and I got food poisoning. So maybe I should stay away from pizza.
Also, Joe Pruett has the worst luck of anybody I've ever met with cars or rental cars or just driving in general. Like it's just insanity. We'll have you.
I'll stay away from riding anywhere with Joe because I don't want to double up on the danger.
Yeah, that's the trick. So the other thing that I really like about these 5 characters in Phantom on the Scan is that usually when a story is told like this, that something happened 20 years ago, all the people are like of the same age or like they were born on the same day. But these characters are all, they're different ages. They were having a different experience. So kind of what drew you to that?
Well, I think part of it, I think, is just when I grew up with siblings who were much older than me, and also a sibling who was much younger than me. And I just wanted to kind of show that there were different stages of life. So yeah, we have characters who were, 8 years old when this comet fell 20 years ago, but we also have characters who were being born that night. And we have characters who were, young adults, teenagers or even adults when that happened. And I just wanted to show how this development of these powers and how the reaction to that event might be different depending on how old they were.
Yeah, and really looking forward to. Is there anything you can tell us that be coming up for the next issue? Since for all those who haven't picked this up, number 2 just hit shelves yesterday at your local comic book shop. What can we look forward to in issue 3?
So we're going to see more of the different characters utilizing their abilities. So we're going to see some really in-depth focus on each of the characters and how they use their abilities. We're also going to be seeing a lot more. The car accident that we mentioned earlier was kind of instigated by this character, Vic, who is this sort of menacing presence. We're going to see a lot more of him, and he's going to Vic is going to meet up with these other 5, and it's going to be it's not a pleasant encounter between the groups. And more head exploding. I'm certain. I'm
pretty positive. Yeah. I don't like how you're like, oh, won't be pleasant. And in Cullen Bunn terms, it's going to be horrific. Something terrible is going to happen.
Yeah,
it's going to be very intense.
The next issue definitely reveals some. It's the one where I think I really lay the hints out there of what's going on, and then it's a matter of seeing if those hints play out the way readers will think they're going to play out.
I love it because I get to read like as we go. I don't read obviously with the production side of the team. I read the comics as soon as they come out. So like I get to be like just as excited as everybody else. Like what's gonna happen next? So very, very stoked. And I mean, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. It's always a pleasure to read your books. I mean, my goodness, we have so many comics from you. We had to do an Bunnibus. It's too heavy. Omnibun. Oh. And this is not even all of it. We still have all of the other after the flood.
I'm working on another Omnibun. I'm building up to another one so that we can have.
It's hefty.
Yeah, I want it to be like a set of encyclopedias.
Yes.
Just all my comics.
These kids won't know what encyclopedias are. They have the internet.
That's true. But if you go
the S was always missing. My grandmother's house, the S was always missing, and I wouldn't be able to look up anything under S. It was the worst.
Yeah, that's true. I feel bad. It's not even that they're missing the information because the information is readily available, but it's something about the feel of those old encyclopedias and the smell of them. And yes, they're always in your grandparents' house, always, and they're missing one volume.
There's always one volume. Yeah, whatever it is. Well, thank you again so much for joining. Where can everybody follow you and find you on the interwebs?
So you can always follow my website, which is cullenbunn.com, or the most the best place to interact with me is probably on Twitter, which is at Cullen Bunn. And you can get to my Discord server, you can get to my e-newsletter, you can get to everything else, all from those two places. You can find everything else.
Well, perfect. And make sure you hit up your local comic book shop for all of Cullen Bunn's stuff. Or actually, the live sale that we're going to do right now, we're going to have some special signed stuff from Cullen Bunn. So make sure you stick around so we can join Joe Pruett and buy up some exclusives for a fraction of the cost here at AfterShock. So thank you again, Cullen.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Oh, hey again, friends. It's me, RuthAnn from the Epicenter. I just wanted to come back to remind you to be here every single Tuesday for the Epicenter live stream at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern to talk about all the titles that are coming out for New Comic Book Day. This week, we'll be talking about The Girls of Dimension 13, number 2, Shadow Doctor, number 4, Nuclear Family, number 4, and I Breathe the Body, number 5. So don't forget to hit that notification bell so that we can see you every single Tuesday right here. And I'll see you then. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the AfterShock Happy Hour. It is time for the live sale portion of this evening. So let's bring on the incredible, the unstoppable, the wonderful Joe Pruett.
Oh, I had no idea who you're talking about with that lead up.
It's still you. It's still you. Sup, buddy?
Just sitting here waiting, chilling, having my Tahitian treat. I'm
Ooh.
12 years old.
So cheers to you.
So
Is that a East Coast thing? I've never heard of that drink. What is that?
No, I don't know what it is. I just remember having it as a kid and liking it. I saw one today and I picked it up.
All right. Oh, it is a Southern thing. All right. Thank you, Stefan. All right. Well, we have some incredible sale items for you all today, largely including Cullen Bunn himself. So first up, we have the hardcover of Witchhammer.
It's done in the French album hardcover format, oversized. Oops, nothing it.
Maybe not that one. Maybe we're not going to say that one.
Big pages, lots of panels, great story.
And that also includes a plate signed by him.
We're doing a plate by Cullen, which would go into the hardcover itself. This is not something that was ever made available through the marketplace. We are making it available today.
Today only. And so usually this is $20 and we're going to be selling it to you guys, only you guys that are joining right now for the next 24 hours for $15.
Yeah. And that's $20 without the signature usually. So this was the signature. And Cullen's signature, is priceless.
Oh, just priceless. And then to continue on with Cullen Bunn's work, we have Dark Arc After the Flood. It's the number 1 9.8 graded lenticular cover. Oh, your screen is so shiny. Yeah.
How's that? Is that better?
A little better.
Well, it's lenticular, so cool.
I have to say the lenticular, they're able to do so much better than when I was a kid. I remember when I was a kid, it was just kind of a blur, but now it really does look like two different images.
You saw DC's version a couple years ago. This is 100% better. No offense, DC.
Yeah.
Maybe a little offense,
DC.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a very cool lenticular cover. We have the 9.8 graded from CBCS. We generally sell it for $100. Today only, we're selling it for $75.
Only $75. All right, and then next up, a title I absolutely adored was Knight's Temporal, number 1, graded lenticular.
Also lenticular.
Yes, fancy.
So I can make it so you can see it here. It's a knight and it's a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Medieval time, modern times.
Because it's a wibbly wobbly timey wimey type title where a knight hunting down a evil mage. Basically, the mage jumps into this portal that he doesn't know what it is, but he's like, I'm going to hunt him down. Jumps in with him, and it actually spreads him out over time and space, like different versions of him throughout. So it's a really fun, this
is a title that came out and did really well for us. And without going into a lot of details, I'll say there might be other interests elsewhere.
Ooh,
So this is also something that we do for, it's very limited. We do usually for 100, we're doing it for 75 today.
Between you and Lee on the show, like there's really cool stuff, but we can't tell you.
Yeah, exactly. We can't talk about it.
And then we're gonna do a threefer. So we have Piecemeal, Eden, and the variant cover by Tony Harris of Eden, which is gorgeous. And all together, it's usually like $25 to $30 depending on the retailer, but we're going to sell all three of them together for only $20.
Yeah, these are all Cullen Bunn goodness, and the oversized, like magazine size format, 48 pages each. Beautiful covers, like I said, the incentive cover from Tony Harris that you can only buy from retailers who qualified for it. We were going to make them all together.
And these are all first prints, right?
Oh, yep. All first prints, all goodness, all Cullen Bunn, all day long.
All day. And when we were talking about having Cullen on, we're like, I think we have some stuff we could sell. I think we know some stuff, including this Shock #1.
Yeah.
Hardcover.
This is the Shock Volume 1 hardcover, again in the European format. The first issue here, this is the signed and number limited edition to 250 copies.
Now,
Brian Stelfree's cover.
Yeah, I was about to say that's the different cover, because this is the cover.
That's a John Cassidy cover. This is a signed and limited edition, which has a Brian Stelfree's cover. Only 250 of them, first retail. They are signed. Interior, every copy is signed by myself, Paul Jenkins, that's Paul Jenkins' signature, Brian Stelfreeze himself, and Francesco Francavilla. And they're all numbered, like this particular one is number 23 of 250 copies. And not only does it have Cullen Bunn in it and myself, it has like Brian Azzarello, Mike Carey, Neil Gaiman, Marguerite Bennett, Bill Willingham, Mark Guggenheim, Jim Starlin, Phil Hester, Frank Thierry, Charles Vest, Michael Gatos, Paul Jenkins, and the list goes on and on forever. It's a great book.
Forever.
Yeah. So it usually retails, this retails for 50. Now, what are we doing today for?
We are doing it today for 40.
40. And in addition, we have one special one today.
You got to be very fast to grab this one, guys.
There's only one of these available, number 27 of 250. But this also is signed by Cullen Bunn and Aaron Douglas, who played Chief on Battlestar Galactica. This is his comic book debut short story in here. And so he signed this particular copy as well. So this, besides myself, Paul Jenkins, Francesco, and Stelfreeze, we also have Cullen and Aaron. So
we only have one of those, and we're doing that one for 50, right?
Right. It's going to be for 50. It's the only one we have.
It's the only one that exists. It's a huge deal, guys. Huge deal. And have we announced the Aaron Douglas news? No. I mean that he's your friend. That he's your friend that you've known for years.
yeah. A personal close friend of the family.
Yes. But yeah, so those are everything that we're selling today. And like we said, we're only doing it for the next 24 hours. So make sure you jump on it. We only have about 20 items of each. Should we go back through from the top, see what, unless anybody else has any questions for me and Joe, you're welcome to write down.
Yeah. And as FYI, the only thing is signed in this grouping is the Shock signed editions and the book plate that goes with each copy of Witch Hammer we sell.
Yes, I did see a question that they're asking if the Edens were signed. They aren't. Yeah, those unfortunately aren't, because those just came out like 2 weeks ago, not even.
Right. Yeah. And Colin refuses to come visit me, so I can't get him to sign it. So Witch Hammer in the European album format hardcover, 64 pages, book plate for 15, normally 20 before signature. We have the lenticular 9.8 from CBCS of Dark Art After the Flood, usually 100. We're doing it for 75 today. That's right. And also, Mike Ruth also did the cover for the lenticular Knights Temporal.
We like Mike Ruth.
Also $100. I mean, usually 175.
a question from Adam Tatum that he says, I don't have that cover. Can we request a special number? So do you mean the cover? I'm not sure if he means the one for Eden or the Stelfreeze cover. So let us know which one you mean, Adam, and we'll let you know, because I didn't even, until like this cover came up for the Shock, I was like, I don't have that one. I want that one.
Well, I can't guarantee a special number because the book was released through Diamond originally. So whatever I have here in this studio, a handful of copies left. I don't know what the numbers are, so I can't guarantee what number it will be. I can say I can give you the lowest number I have in that range if you prefer. Now, the signed edition that has Aaron and Cullen's signature as well, that is number 27 out of 250. That's all I know. And this other one, for instance, which is what we're saying 35 today, this particular one is number 23. So that's actually a pretty low number.
Yeah, they're all pretty low numbers. And you said it was only 250 of those ever printed.
250 of these are made, right? So this is number 23. That's number 27.
Yeah, and
right,
just to show you guys again, this is the usual cover for it, which is also a very fun cover. But I hadn't seen this other one before today.
There's one other cover by Francesco Francavilla that was a retail exclusive in Colorado. So that was a great cover too. But you can only buy it at that one store. And we also have the 3 set, 2 different titles, Eden and Peach Mill, in the one shot format, but both versions of Eden, including the regular cover and the Tony Harris exclusive incentive cover.
And I was glad to find out that even those larger sizes fit in my spinner rack, fit in here. Like I
love the size.
It's great.
I love the size. This is really great. And we'll be doing a lot more of these.
In a funny way, it kind of makes me feel like a reading comic books again as a kid, because it's so big. I feel so little.
I think I like it because it makes the book, it gives it a presentation.
Yeah.
It's prestigious. Now that's, if you go back to the 80s, like Marvel graphic novels, they were doing like, say, Death After Marvel, Dreadstar, etc. Yeah, the Mutants. It's the same size as those. It actually is the same size as the Black Label are doing over at DC as well. So these are all this format is all one shots, all complete stories, one and dones. But potential, to do a different story, as Cullen was alluding to. Maybe we could do a Witch Hammer in that format, and if he wants to do more of it.
Yeah, I'm still thinking his friend wasn't talking about him about staying away from cars. I think he was talking about you.
Yeah, rental cars where I had sunroofs explode over my head in the middle of the night.
That was the first time I was at a convention with you. It was for the Diamond Summit, and you had to be there a day late or like X amount of time late because the sunroof.
I got there. I drove up and I parked my car at the 5-star hotel, and they brought back to me the next morning. I said, "What did you do to my car?" Just kidding with him, and made him had a scared look in his face. I said, "I'm just kidding." By the time I was driving with Garth Ennis and John McCrea in my car years ago, and I had a tire blowout. I said, I could have been the guy that killed Garth Ennis. And then I had a tire blowout when I was traveling in Houston last year.
Yeah.
At midnight, of course. It always happens at midnight for me too. I wonder why.
I think it has something to do with the black-eyed kids that you wrote. I feel like it's like
maybe, yeah. The witching hour.
The witching hour, as it were. Well, if we don't have any more questions from the audience here, we've been having a really good time. So should we talk about any of these titles anymore? Did you guys hear enough about each of the things that we're selling today? And these are available. No, not all of these are available even on the shop. Which ones are not even available to buy at the shop?
The graded books are not available through shop retailers. All the other books are available. They can still order the Shock through Diamond, but there's a few copies left at Diamond.
Yeah. Well, everybody, make sure if you do want any of these exclusive items to click on the Shopify links and get them for yourselves before we close it down. But thank you, everybody, for joining the AfterShock Happy Hour again. And we're looking forward to 2 weeks from now having the Anaki brothers. It will be a pre-recorded since they're in Italy, and there's no way our time schedules could make it work for them staying up until 2 in the morning to be able to be a part of this.
I'm just lazy.
Yes. Oh, and the Miranda brothers are in Spain. That's right. But yes, thank you all so much for joining. We'll have the Miranda brothers on in 2 weeks, and we'll announce who we have and what we're selling for that show as well. So thank you all so much for joining, and we'll see you all next time.
Perfect.